PT Breakfast Club. Good morning, Tony Maritato. Dave Kittle is joining right now. Let me bring him in. What is up, Dave Kittle?
Morning. Morning. How are you
I,
feeling?
Good. I love that hat.
Concierge pain relief. So real quick, I woke up really bad allergies, and I don't want too much credit, but I'm trying to do like a Cal Ripken. Like you got to show up no matter what. I'm not saying I'm Cal Ripken playing 1,000 games in a row. This is not the equivalent, but I'm just joking around. I'm trying to bring some extra today. I'm bringing some
Yes.
extra. I woke up and I'm like, damn, I don't even know if I could talk this morning. My allergies are so bad. But you gotta clear the windpipe, and I'm here for you, Tony.
That's awesome. I love it. Talking about that hat, where did you get that hat? Where do you order your merch?
This is a first. This is a one of one. This is a first one. I went to Lids, and I had, I picked a font, not even the font of my actual logo, and that probably says a little bit about my entrepreneurial self. Not too fine, not too perfect. So I went to Lids, like one of the hat stores, and
Yeah.
I picked one of the MLB 5950, which are like the professional hats, not like, listen, no snapback, no snapback,
Yeah.
always fitted. So if you guys are a colleague or a friend, especially if you're in the New York City area, if you want a hat, message me. And I figure even if I'm a little under the weather with allergies, I still want to come on here. I still want to show that I'm a marketer. I'm a business person. And so, yeah, this is my practice, and Lids. Now we'll see if I'm going to use Lids for dozens of, runs of more units. We'll see.
Now, here in Ohio, and I assume it's the same company, there's a mall. In the mall, there's a store called Lids, and it's just full of fitted hats like that, high quality, premium brand. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, so you can go in there and create a custom hat. You pick a
Yeah.
blank hat off the rack, any color, whatever they have, whatever size, if they have your size, and you pick out the font, and they'll put it up on a screen. They have the machine right there for the embroidery, all that. There were some issues with mine. I don't even know if you want to get into it, but you can pay for like the 3D embroidered font, which is what I originally paid for. The machine got messed up, but yeah, you can do it all right there. The size of the font, how long, how many, I think this is like 4 inches from side to side, 4 inches of
Okay.
font. Yeah, you can do it all right there. They have their own logos, and you can send them like the vector art
Yeah.
for your practices logo or brand or whatever. So I didn't do that. I was just like, I'm just picking one of their fonts that's like somewhat close to my font. And I'm like, let's do that, because now when I play weekend baseball, I wear this instead of my, like, it's like a pickup league of baseball, and I've treated like most of the guys on my team. So I was like, let me do this as my weekend baseball hat, and then when this starts to get dirty, I'll get another one just for videos or wearing out.
That's awesome. I was just listening to Greg Eisenberg. He's got a podcast. They were talking about startup ideas. One of the things that they mentioned was finding a place to get high quality custom made hats just like that, for, just branding, like product awareness, service awareness in our case. I know that I've always struggled for decades because I've always wanted to have merch. I've never wanted to pay for the merch. It breaks my heart to pay like 30, 40, $50 for something. But I know that if you give the same crappy quality, was a Gilead t-shirt, white cotton, nobody wants it. Nobody is going to wear it. It's a total waste of time. But to drop 40, $50 on a specific item for a specific person. I don't know if you saw yesterday, I've shared a framed poster that I received as a gift from Jansen, the founder of HippoScribe. It was amazing. It was so like touching. It was heartfelt. It was a specific quote that I had said during a conversation. Those gifts are so impactful. And I think that is what, we're going to talk today, or hopefully, about how to get those first 10 new patients into your ecosystem. And one of the things, once you get those first 10 patients in, is how do you build raving fans? How do you change the patient care experience? How do you turn from transactional experience to a connection, a relational experience? And I think that hat and things like that are so impactful. We're going to a Reds game today. We're playing Philly. We've been crushing Philly. I think it's like we won 5 out of 6 in the series so far. I think today's the last game.
Brutal. Go
We
Philly
we
no
should
matter
have
what.
had Jerry on today. Today would have been a good day. All right. So talking about topic of the day, and we can go anywhere you want with this. I talked to Joey Albritton yesterday or the day before. We were talking about how do you get those first 10 clients. Now, obviously you have concierge, practice model, cash base. You're at the other end of the spectrum compared to me. I would love to hear your perspective. If a therapist just starting a business today says, Dave, I'm desperate. How do I get those first 10 referrals in my doors? And let's say they're doing mobile. We'll do mobile first. What's your recommendation? What do you think? What are the lowest hanging fruit?
Mobile. Right. First 10 from scratch. So
yeah, no connections. You like there's all those shows, you drop an entrepreneur into a city, they have no connections anywhere. They need to start putting money in the bank account. They need to get, even if it's not their first 10, their first one patient who is going to put money in their pocket. How do you do that?
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to go and speak to a bunch of speak to a bunch of people in the community. I know we kind of mentioned this on an episode or two ago. For mobile, I would go speak to someone who can refer multiple people. So it would be for mobile, look up nursing agencies, obviously physician offices, and just first thing you can ask them is like a nursing agency, let's say. You cold message them on their website, on their contact form, maybe a call in, and say something like, hey, are you guys accepting more new patients or clients? Now, this is going to sound a little different. This is my approach, and some people
you flip the script.
You flip the script and you say, hey, I'm a mobile physical therapist. I go to patients' homes, whether you're cash or insurance, you don't even have to mention it. You're currently at 0 patients, right? This is a startup, 0 patients. You call them and you say, hey, I see that you guys are a home health agency doing nursing, whether it's skilled nursing, maybe it's unskilled home health aides, CNAs, whatever. They already have been in existence for probably 10 or 20 years or whatever. And of course, they're always accepting more new patients and clients. You call them and you say, hey, are you accepting more new patients or clients? They're going to say, yes, most likely. Either way, it doesn't matter. You're just starting the conversation about them. So you're reaching out about them and you're saying, hey, I'm a mobile physical therapist. I would love to connect with more nursing agencies like you guys so that I can send referrals to you. I can make introductions, whatever it might be. They're already in a whole bunch of homes around the area that you are likely to service. So you're connecting, you're having at least one or more phone calls with some of the people. So every nursing agency is different. Some of the people you talk to on the phone, it might be a nurse. It also might be an admin person who's not a nurse. It might be the co-founder, co-owner. It might not be. You want to build some of those relationships. Here's where I think, this takes some time and some money. Ask them, hey, can I buy a cup of coffee? Can I take you out to lunch? You want to almost act. This is what I would do. And some people are not comfortable with this. You almost want to act like you have a full caseload.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm looking to refer patients and clients to you guys. Are you guys accepting more new clients? Do you guys take insurance? Are you private pay? Are you out of pocket? I want to make sure that I'm sending the right folks to you guys. And you can almost say, hey, I want to make sure that you guys are legit. So now you're flipping the script, as Tony said. You string a bunch of those along, and then all of a sudden, maybe it takes a week or two. It may take a month where they start to refer patients to you. Now, if that takes too long, you want to go in your community. You want to talk to coaches, like literally like Tony, like Tony's, little league. You want to talk to all the coaches, the parents, go to the batting cages, go to the golf courses. You have to do something. If you have no patients at all, you have to get out there and just tell people, hey, did you know that we have a physical therapy practice that goes to people's homes? Most people think that you have to go to an outpatient office, even if you have back pain or neck pain. Most people think you have to go to an office. Did you know that you can have hands-on treatment in your home or office? And the more of those people that you mention over time, the more that you're likely to get referrals. the more that you do this, eventually you're going to get in front of someone, your neighbor, your friend, your colleague, someone on your street, someone in your building, someone that's nearby, and they're going to have an actual issue, right, Tony? So they're going to have neck pain, back pain, ankle injury, whatever. And then you just ask them questions. Hey, is this the first time you ever had this? How did this, occur? You want to build some rapport, build some conversation. Oh, I actually treat that, but I go to patients' homes and the clients' homes or apartments. You could go to an office, or you could have a physical therapist like us come to you. Now, if it's lower extremity, they're going to look at you and say, oh, that's like a no-brainer. Why would I want to travel to an office if I got to hobble or drive or walk or take an Uber or Lyft to an office when you could come to my home? So you want to build some rapport, and then say something like, hey, are you looking, do you want some help with that? Do you want my help with that? And they might say no. And that's what I would do initially, is talk to a bunch of places that would potentially refer to you. The more folks that you touch, the more folks that you speak with, that you interact with, the soonest you can get like your first evaluation in the door. And that would probably cover you for the first, 10 patients. Physician offices for mobile, I think nursing is even better because they already have patients and clients that are 100% in home. That's what I would do. That's how I would start. What else would you do, Tony?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And you and I have talked about that before. You got to deliver value first. You got to deliver value to the potential referral source. They know that you want patients, whether you're a well-established clinic, you're a mobile provider with 20 years of experience and you've been in the community, or you're brand new. They know that's what you're there for, but you have to deliver that value to them first. And so telling them, hey, I just want to send you patients, and I want to make sure I send you the right patients. I've had so many doctors over 22, 23 years tell me, one, they don't want more patients. Now, what they're really saying is, I don't want more Medicaid referrals, because so many of my patients for so many years have been, they have Medicaid or a managed Medicaid plan. Doctors are losing money on those referrals. Primary cares are desperate to send them to the orthopedic. The orthopedic doesn't want to do surgery because they can't afford to do surgery. So when I would go to somebody like you're saying, I would be very specific in that, look, I don't want to send you referrals that you don't want. I don't want to send you referrals that aren't surgical candidates, that have insurance that won't cover the cost of the procedure. I want to send you the best possible referral, but I need to know what that is. And like you said, even if I haven't seen a single patient, it doesn't matter. There are people that I know in my, family, friends, community that I'm going to run into that I would be able to refer to that individual. So it's not disingenuous. It's real. I really do want to do that. Option number one, that's a great way to do it. One of the things that I would do now, because we live in 2024, there are people, if I don't have an audience, I go to where the audience is, right? So you look at a platform like Angie's List, like Thumbtack, like care.com. There are people right now every single day searching for someone to help with non-medical companion care, with transportation. I need to get mom to the doctor's office. I can't take mom because I'm working. I need somebody who's trustworthy who can do it. Now, this is a loss leader. You're going to get paid far less than you would as a therapist, but these are individuals that absolutely need therapy services. And so this is where I think you take 2 or 3 steps back. You say, okay, I don't have thousands of dollars to invest in a Facebook or Google ad campaign, but I could accept $100 less, spend an hour of my time helping these individuals with non-medical services. And then as I build the relationship, it's, oh, you know what? I am a licensed therapist, PTOT. I could treat you, pick you up on a plan of care. You absolutely justify medical necessity because of these reasons. You complete your evaluation, you develop your plan of care, and now you have your first 10 patients because care.com brought them to you, thumbtack.com brought them to you. I would probably look at that. We've talked about Luna before. Luna is a great in-between, and they even talk about themselves in that way, that They don't intend to be a full-time gig, but basically what they do is they have the opportunity with I forget what they call it, geofencing. If you tell them, I only want patients in this geography, and they can help work with you on that and deliver referrals to you. They pay you, I think, same day or next day. So you're not waiting for reimbursement to come in. There's options like that. And I would even say, again, I would reach out to all the local providers in my area. I don't know, Dave, if you ever take a vacation, but if somebody who has a business right now and they have a therapist who's out sick, or they want to go on vacation themselves, and somebody else came in and said, hey, I'm looking to pick up some contract work, I'm available while I build my caseload, I can always come in and cover vacation, sick leave, maternity leave, anything like that. You would be able to come in not as a W-2 employee, but as a 1099 contractor for a predetermined amount of time for an elevated pay rate, because you're not going to be a full-time employee. So you can earn 25, 50% above what a W-2 employee would earn, and it would help get the ball rolling.
For sure.
What do you think?
With the Luna thing, not a big deal, because I know you've talked a bunch, but I have heard from at least one therapist where they were getting referrals through Luna outside of the zip codes that they were requesting, and the therapist kept saying no because the new patients were too far away. And I guess Luna then like penalized that therapist because they kept saying no to so many cases up front without saying yes to a case, but all the ones that they were getting were like really far uptown, like outside of where they wanted to cover. Whatever, not a big deal. But if you're starting from zero, you have to do what you got to do. So also, if you're mobile, the first 5 or 10 are all going to be spread out. They're not going to be clustered. And so if you want to not invest in a brick and mortar, a lease, or sublet a room or whatever, then you have to get ready for the beginning where your patients and clients are not going to be clustered in the same street, the same neighborhood, the same building, whatever. They're going to be all over the place. And that's part of mobile. And so you certainly should prepare for that, because that's just the nature of it. It's going to be all spread out in the beginning before they're clustered. Or you do the opposite, which would be you sublet a room, a location, you have one, in a gym, in a CrossFit box, whatever it might be. And you have that one location, and then you're trying to get people to arrive and show up at that location instead of being mobile. So those are, again, some of the pros and cons of mobile. Do you want to keep going on any other like marketing ideas on drumming up the first 10 patients?
No, I think that was great. One of the things I wanted to talk about, unless you have a topic, did you see my post about going to McDonald's yesterday?
That you went in for a breakfast item and a coffee?
Kind of. I went to the drive-through. So just real quick for context, because this same exact kind of patient experience, customer experience happened at Chick-fil-A, and I love it. It's amazing. So yeah, let's say once a month, I want to treat myself. I usually don't eat breakfast until 1 p.m. I usually get my run in, get my workout in, see a couple patients, and then I start my day, my food day. But sometimes I'm just in the mood. And so yesterday I was driving to one of my clinics. I was like, I'm going to pick up a coffee for Jeremy, my physical therapist assistant, for myself, and I'll get a breakfast muffin or something. And I pull up. I always use the app. I pull up, and it's a computer voice that's like, are you ordering, or will you be using, number? Now, the funny part, I don't think I shared this in the post. I say the number, right? Let's just say it's FN 27. And the voice is like, calculating. Oh, can you say that number again? F as in Frank, N as in Nancy, 27. I'm sorry, say that number again. Finally, I get a human. The human comes on, and I'm like, FN. Oh, wait, it's FN 25. Once again, human error messes up the technology. But point being, I love the way this is all going. And I know a lot of people are against it. And I know a lot of people are concerned about, AI taking over the world. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. I love self-checkout. I love being able to order my food on an app. I saw an article that said people will order 10% more or spend 10% more when they're ordering food through an app than when they're ordering through human to human communication. And I
Wow.
know I do, because half the time I don't want to try to explain an order. I don't want to worry about the order being wrong. So if the app is there, I'm probably going to order more. What's been your experience?
Self-checkout is amazing until it's produce and you have to weigh something and select the code. Then it's actually terrible. And then self-checkout, it's all over, like Whole Foods, Home
Yeah.
Depot, Lowe's, like a whole bunch of places. um there'll usually be one or two floater
Yeah.
employees that are human employees that are there kind of overseeing. And then sometimes, like, if you do something, maybe the customer does not place the product like on the bed of the, like, next to the bags. You have to like scan the item and then place it at a certain plate location. So if that's off, then that throws off the machine, and the machine thinks, like, I don't know, it has some buzzer or some error code or whatever. So yeah, that works. I do love all of the, ever since COVID, and even before COVID, with ordering items from restaurants, whether it's Uber Eats, DoorDash, um, any of the apps to get food delivered to you. Um, I do love the selection from a digital menu instead of over the phone. Over the phone, human to human. You just gave an example. Either human, I could say the wrong cheese, and then I ordered the wrong cheese for my wife or my family member or whoever, versus the app. And then if it's like you want to write a note like no mayonnaise, no ketchup, extra mustard, or no bun or whatever, when it's in a digital menu and the little description box, it becomes more difficult to mess that up, as opposed to if you say it over the phone. I'll take a number 2 and a number 7, but the number 7, no ketchup, but onions on number 2, whatever. When it's over the phone, yeah, it's been historically more inefficient, but the apps make it a lot better for the flow. I have not heard that 10% more, uh, people order more food, 10% more volume of food through that flow. That's super interesting. And how do we apply this technology to therapy? Let me think about it. Let me kick it over to you, Tim.
Yeah, so I mean, we see some of it already. We know that there's EMRs that allow the patient to schedule. But then I also know there are therapists that are resistant to that, because the therapist is like, well, I need to control my schedule and I don't want a patient scheduling an appointment where I might not be available, or I don't want to see a patient during that time. We know that there's, EMRs that can process payments automatically, and there's checkout kiosks. I was very, very close to setting up a system where I just had a virtual front desk. So in my physical therapy brick and mortar clinic, I had a monitor. We tested it. I had a monitor facing reception, webcam on top. I had my human receptionist at home, so that when a person walked in, if they needed to talk to the receptionist to either process a payment or do something, they could activate the mouse, or my receptionist at home would be able to see them, turn on the webcam, and then have that face-to-face interaction, just like you and I are doing right here, right now. Um, I think this could progress from a therapy perspective to, I do think, obviously everybody says like Luna is the Uber of physical therapy. But even when you look at the food services, you look at the menus that you can order, it drives me crazy. We sell procedure codes, at least in an insurance-based model. I sell 97110, 97140. I sell these things. Why can't a client specifically say, I want these procedures, come into the clinic or order from home, boop, 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 order the things that they want, pay for it, and then come on back into my clinic and let's deliver on that order. And we know that there are businesses doing recovery rooms. So they're getting like laser treatments and all these other things. Again, that should all be automated. They push in what they want, they pay for it, they come back, they do the treatment or get the intervention. That's where I see it going.
I love it. I mean, there's some places. I think it's a franchise called Restore. I mean, there's some in New York City and probably the surrounding areas, but it's you can either have a membership or a la carte, and they do like the massage gun, they do the cryotherapy chamber, the IV infusion. So maybe you have to have a nurse or whatever. I don't know how that goes. Red light therapy. There's some of those modalities where there's a place to go, and it's called Restore, and they have all these modalities, and you can pick like a la carte or a reduced dollar amount, but like they lock you into the continuity, which is like the monthly recurring membership. And Dr. Bo says we should color coordinate better. Why? No, we're good. We're both gray, and I'm a little extra today. I'm a little extra.
Bo is just so fashion forward. He knows that our grays are clashing. So
so Dr. Bo said they have a Restore there in Colorado. Okay, so it's a national company. Maybe it's a franchise. I don't know. But yeah, so consumers can go into these Restore locations, and it's exactly what you said, Tony. Now, can more physical therapy practices do this type of stuff? Yeah. Can they spend some money to pop up an additional part of their website where the consumer, the patient, the client, whoever can go on the website of this local physical therapy office and then pick some of these, whether it's the Normatec compression boots, it's any of the out-of-pocket modalities, laser, for us, it's stim pod. I mean, there's a, shockwave therapy. There's a whole bunch of other out-of-pocket services. Yeah, a lot more practices can do that for sure.
what do you think about, I heard, and I'm trying to process this. I heard, this is just hearsay, that AI technology for, somebody answering the phone, for customer service calls, for things like that. We've had chat bots for a long time now. Now they can put a voice on the chat bot so that there's interaction between the consumer and the AI. I heard somebody say that in healthcare, this has now become illegal. I have no idea. I haven't seen that. The person who shared that is reputable. I believe that she has resources to support that. But like, that's one of those things that we had been talking about in my tech community, where I'm like, why don't we have either a guided admission process with AI technology and human voice to just go through the questions, start to ask these questions. And if that technology listened to me do my evaluation 100 times, it knows the questions I would be asking better than I know the questions I would be asking. You woke up today, you've got, allergies and probably just not at 100%. This is the reality. AI never has that. So I was listening to some of the podcasts, and they were talking about the voice. It could even have my voice. I could train it on my exact voice. So the person on the other end of the phone, it feels like they're talking to me. Of course, full disclosure, we would let them know it's not a human and AI involved and all the compliance issues. Man, I want that technology so bad, especially when we look at the frustrations of hiring staff. I've got an amazing admin team, but things come up, they age, they go into different phases of life. And for me to replace them now is so challenging. Clinicians, I don't want to hire another therapist or clinician just because of the frustration of trying to onboard them to the culture of the clinic. But if I could do AI to start to replace and automate some of those really low level, simple tasks, I just think that would be so huge.
I can't imagine. So you're saying a chat widget or a chat box is illegal in healthcare? It sounds ridiculous. How is that even possible?
I don't know, but that's what I've heard.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I am more of a maverick or renegade with some of this type of stuff, but the fact that a chat widget would be some type of illegal healthcare or HIPAA issue, when you have a website visitor come to a website and they are not a patient or a client, they are a prospective consumer, prospective customer, whatever you want to call it. They're a lead. They're currently not a patient, and typically they're not really inserting a lot of protected health information other than like their name and their phone number. But again, I don't know, Tony, there's things like these comments. Respectfully.
Absolutely.
There's things like these comments is why healthcare is such a laggard with adopting new technology.
I agree. I agree 100%. I think so much of this holds us back. It's a reactive, not proactive. It's defensive. Um, and I'm guilty of it just as much as everybody else. I will not do procedures, even if I think that procedure is in the patient's best interest, if I believe there's a liability risk to that procedure. A classic example, Bo, he's going to relate to this, I am sure. You get the patient that comes in the clinic with years of low back pain. I just had a patient yesterday. Patient has been diagnosed with osteoporosis. Patient is independent, fully functional, living a great life, fearful to lift anything over her head because somebody somewhere said, if you lift something over your head, you have an increased risk of a compression fracture and shoulder injury. She refuses to lift anything over her head. Now, I understand, even though I have a limited knowledge of clinical research, I understand we're humans. We're always going to reach over our head. I gave her a couple examples of, you're putting on a shirt, your arms are going to probably go over your head at some point, like all of these things. But that being said, I am a defensive medicine provider. I am not going to put her in a position, even if she would have done something else that caused an injury, but she could blame it on me. I'm out. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to put somebody with chronic low back pain through deadlifts, no matter how much I know it's beneficial for them, because they are so conditioned to think the deadlift will cause an injury. I am not going to do it. And so I say right up front, my patients probably won't get better or as good as another therapist's patients, but I am never going to cause somebody to get hurt or even give them the inclination to think that I caused them to get hurt. And for my population, they would rather be where they are and not risk injury than better than they are and get hurt. Go ahead.
Hey, coming in hot, Daniel Hirsch. Shout out to Daniel Hirsch. Coming in hot on LinkedIn messages as we're live. Our compliance specialist expert, he said, he sent me a message 2 minutes ago. He said, a chatbot is totally not illegal. The storage of that information is the exposure that can be solved for. So thank you, Daniel Hirsch, who was on our show a week or so ago, for risk and compliance in outpatient physical therapy. So the exact expert and specialist. Now, I don't know, Tony, you don't have to mention who, but yeah. Tony gave the example of someone online that I think maybe is in this world. You don't have to mention who, but now we got a specialist coming in live saying that these types of chatbots are legal. He said it's totally not illegal, which backs up my claim. Thank you, Daniel Hirsch. But also, he's not saying it to back me up. He's saying it because this is his area of expertise.
Absolutely. And I just shared the link to Daniel's episode from a couple PT Breakfast Club episodes ago. It's in the comments. If he's still watching, I am curious. Now, I intentionally didn't clarify Dave's comment. What if it's the voice simulation by phone? Because I think that's what they were talking about specifically. Not a chatbot on the website, but you call a place, it's a voice, AI voice over the phone. It's not a human. The AI voice is talking to you, asking you questions about, the admission process and your medical procedure or whatever. Is that any different? I don't know. I'm just asking. All right. Dave, I don't want to hog all the topics. Do you have any topics you want to talk about? I do have other ones to bring up.
Let's go to the next thing you got.
So I was looking at, we talked to Jerry Durham. Jerry Durham is amazing. We talked about kind of curating the patient expectation. And so when you're looking at communicating your unique value proposition, I would love to hear in your words, you're talking to a patient for the first time, somebody reaches out to you. I've said publicly before, I hate the word leads. I don't want leads. When a patient calls me, literally, I've recorded these calls on my side, just like Jerry talked about. My calls are, hi, I need physical therapy. That is it. There's no like convincing, there's no selling, there's nothing else that I have to do. It's literally, I need physical therapy. Okay, let's get you booked. What is it like for you? How do you curate that patient expectation? How are patients reaching out to you or your staff, your clinicians that are working with you? What does something like that look like in the concierge world?
So the first phone call, correct?
Yeah.
So it's more efficient than it used to be, but it's still longer than the phone call that you're describing. It is not like just getting people booked quickly. Because there's a couple things that we need to clarify. Someone will call in and they're either going to say something like, "Do you take United Healthcare? Do you take my insurance?" Those are usually folks that don't always convert. There's other families, there's other clients that call in and they say, "Hey, do you take Aetna? And if not, how much is it out of pocket?" Those types of
Okay.
people do convert. They are the ones that pay 250 out of pocket per visit, and they end up spending 5 or 10 or 20 grand with us over time. There's other people that call in and they're just like, whatever it costs, whatever. We need someone as many days as possible. We have new people call in. They want 5 or 7 days of therapy for their loved one, depending on the situation. And those
So
people convert.
what would a situation like that look like? Like, who is that motivated, that there's that much urgency that they're going to pay whatever, they want you this many times? What does that look like?
That is usually the son or daughter calling in. That's maybe 50 years old, calling in for their 70 or 80-year-old parent. The parent usually had a recent hospitalization and they're being discharged. They might, and listen, I can go into so much detail about this because I've tried other folks doing the callbacks, and I have now delegated a lot of the other things, billing and admin, that type of stuff, but I'm still doing a lot of the callbacks now. So these families call in and they usually have had issues with therapy in the hospital. Like there's understaffed therapists in the hospital. They didn't get enough therapy in the hospital. They tried VNS or one of these other insurance covered home therapy practices, and the therapist comes in. This is their words.
Yeah.
Therapist comes in for 10, 15 or 20 minutes. And they say the therapist is basically just collecting a signature. Watched my mother or father walk with a walker for 5 minutes, or they were there for 10 minutes total. Said, "Oh yeah, they're good. They can walk with a walker. They're good. They're all right." And then they leave. But then the patient still cannot get up out of a couch or a chair or a bed by themselves. They call us. So you're asking, what does this call kind of look like?
Yeah.
Again, we need to confirm a couple things. First of all, they might ask a couple questions. I have to come over the top because I'm leading the dance. We are leading the dance on the phone call. They might ask, insurance and this and that. And then I have to stop them and say, "Hold on, I need a couple things first, Tony. First of all, Tony, where are you located? What's your street address or your nearest corner intersection? Because I need to make sure that I have a doctor of physical therapy that even covers your location, your area, first of all."
And you say that to them. Those are words you're saying. Got it.
Verbatim. Then I'll say, "Okay, so we do have a doctor of physical therapy that covers your approximate area." Also, someone will say the corner intersection. If someone gives the exact street address, they're a little bit warmer. They're a little bit more serious. If they give a corner intersection, or they're like, "Oh, it's like upper west side." All right. I mean, we do have someone that covers it, but it's like if someone wants to be more vague, they're less serious. They're less likely to pay out of pocket. Anyway, we move forward. Then I say, "Tony, okay, Tony, what's your situation? What's your diagnosis? Whether it's you, the client that I'm speaking with, or it's if I'm speaking to the son or daughter, or sometimes it's the parent for someone who's younger. If I'm speaking to a third party, what's the diagnosis and the situation? Because I need to make sure that I would be sending a specialist, an expert in that condition, that diagnosis to you, not just any physical therapist with a pulse." I
Right.
also say that basically verbatim. Now, as you're laughing, Tony,
Yeah.
I know you know this. This is significantly different than when they call other places. And
Right.
that's the point.
Right.
So now we covered location. Do we cover their location with mobile concierge visits? Yes. Is it a diagnosis that I know my therapist can rock? I know that they're going to crush it. Like, it's not something that's obscure. Like, we do have a pelvic physical therapist, but she only does downtown Manhattan. So I know if it's like Brooklyn or uptown Manhattan or whatever, I'll let them know, like, "Hey, we actually don't have a specialist that covers your area." I'll let them know, and then I'll try to refer out. So we need the location. We cover location and diagnosis, and we have someone who's an expert or specialist, which is kind of vague and It's kind of like not definable, but it's good enough for what we're doing. Then we ask about the situation, what's going on. Have you tried other things? They might mention other physical therapy places. Oh, so a year or two ago, you went to this outpatient office, this XYZ physical therapy. Okay. Why aren't you going back to them for this? I'm curious.
Right.
And then they'll say like, oh, I had an issue with this or that, or the therapist was too aggressive, or they don't like the commute and the travel. So we kind of go into like, why are they looking for in-home physical therapy? Why are they looking for us? Who else have they called? Whatever. So I'm asking some of these open-ended questions. What's important to you with in-home physical therapy? Maybe they want hands-on treatment. Maybe they want a male or a female because of religious considerations or personal considerations or whatever. So we go through some of these open-ended questions. Why is this important to you? Hey, if you could wave a magic wand, Tony, what are you looking to get back to? If you could wave a magic wand right now, what are the things that you can't do now, or that your mother or father can't do now, that you want them to get back to in the next several weeks or so? So we'll go through this conversation. We're getting what's important to them. We're touching on things that no other therapy practice is asking them on the first phone call. And now I don't really want to treat patients anymore. So then what I say to them is, we'll probably talk about cost at some point. I price anchor the cost with the weekend rate out of pocket. We'll check their insurance if they have out of network, but let's say if they're Medicaid, Medicare, or if they have no insurance at all. If the person, Tony calls in, and if you don't have insurance, then we'll say, hey, Tony, I need you. I don't say this, but I need you to ask me, Tony, how much is it? That's my rule. That's my rule. So we'll talk about insurance and cost or whatever. You're eventually going to say, well, how much is it? Because I'm going to say to you, I know, Tony, I know that you called in, your family member, etc. You called in about looking for your Medicare Advantage plan or whatever. Tony, we no longer take that Medicare Advantage plan or Medicare or whatever. Here's why we don't take it. It doesn't cover our costs. I also say this verbatim.
Right.
I tell them the reason why we don't take it. Tony, we don't take this insurance anymore. We used to. We no longer do. Here's why we don't take it. It basically pays less than what it used to. And I want to retain great physical therapists. The only way I can retain great physical therapists is that I pay them a competitive rate. The only way I can pay them a competitive rate is that we charge out of pocket for some of these types of plans, because the plans don't pay us enough. They might ask us, hey, well, can you bill my plan and then I'll pay the difference? Unfortunately, nope, we can't do that. We just flat out don't take this insurance plan.
Right.
We have Tony, I want to let you know that we have many folks in your area, many folks in the city that decide to pay us out of pocket to work with us. It's not for everyone. And I never force anyone to work with us, but we have many folks nearby that have this type of plan that decide to pay us out of pocket for in-home physical therapy. Oh, by the way, Tony, I want to let you know that we don't have a waiting list. Right now it's Thursday. I might even be able to get a physical therapist to you tomorrow, at the very least next week, because I want to supply you with information so you can make a wise decision about your health and wellness. And if you call other places, they might have a 4, 5, 6 weeks waiting list. And we don't have that big of a waiting list right now because we're more boutique and we're less volume based, right? So I go through that spiel, and you, Tony, the caller, have to say, how much is it? If you do not ask that, Tony, I'm not saying the dollar amount. And I will let you and I will hang up the phone without you hearing the dollar amount. I need the caller. So it's the patient or client themselves, or it's the son or daughter of the patient, or whatever. I need the decision maker to ask me, how much is it? Now, the reason is because I need them to lean in. I need them to lean into the conversation. I need them to understand that we're out of pocket, and I need them to show some interest. So then when they say, how much is it? Then I say, okay, well, first of all, Tony, it's more expensive on the weekends because it's the weekends.
Right.
So for your location, it's $400 per visit on a Saturday or Sunday, and it's $250 per visit Monday through Friday. Every visit is 60 minutes in duration. You will get hands-on treatment on the very first visit. There's other places that do an evaluation and they don't do any hands-on treatment at the first visit. So I'm supplying all of what you get, but it's also
Yeah.
a nice comparison to the competition. Then I say, so how does that sound to you? And either you're going to convert or you're going to repel, or you might want to think about it or whatever. But because we don't need you as an evaluation right now, like we're good, like we're established, that comes through on the confidence of the phone call.
Yeah.
And we'll do one other step. We'll do one last step, which is, Tony, I'm not going to be the one treating you. I'm the practice manager. For you, the next step, if you'd like, whether you want to think about it or if you're ready to book, either way, I would like for you to speak with my doctor of physical therapy who's actually going to be coming to you. So it's Dr. Denzel or Dr. Samuel or Dr. Mo or Dr. Joshua or Dr. Page or whoever it is. I'm going to have them call you to review all this. I took some notes. I'm going to review these notes with them. They're going to call you. I want you to speak with the doctor of physical therapy who would be coming to see you. So even if they want to think about it, that also helps. If they're ready to book and schedule, I'll say, great, Dr. Denzel is going to call you. He's going to contact you to book the date and time that works for both of you. And then I'm going to email you the new client paperwork. We'll get your card on file, sign that treatment consent form, and we're ready to rock and roll.
Wow. That's like a mini masterclass. That was awesome. And I'll tell you, we used to do almost a very similar thing. Now, I didn't put as much emphasis on getting them to ask how much. For people listening, and I didn't realize everybody doesn't know this, for the people listening, I would love for you to just, in your own words, explain what does it mean when you say price anchor to the weekend price?
So when I'm talking to the prospective, by the way, this is on Amazon.com. It's when you go look at a car dealership, you drive by a car dealership, and it's going to have a dollar amount. It's going to say this car is 10 grand, and it's going to be slashed out, and then it's going to say like 7,500. That's price anchoring.
Right.
If you go on Amazon.com, almost every item on Amazon.com has a dollar amount that's grayed out, and it's what's the word with font? Not superscribe. There's a word for the line through the word, like crossed out.
Strike through.
Strike through. Thank you.
Yeah.
Strike through. So on Amazon.com, there's a gray dollar amount with strike through. It's grayed out with the line through it. That's a price anchor. And then the actual dollar amount is below it on Amazon.com. I think it's in red or maroon or something like that. And that's the dollar amount that you're actually paying. That's called price anchoring. You and any other consumer, whether it's my phone call, they hear a higher dollar amount, or on Amazon.com, or you drive by the car dealership, you see a higher dollar amount, your brain cognitively gets anchored to the higher dollar amount, but then you see a lower dollar amount. So now it seems like, wow, I'm getting a deal, and here's how much this thing is actually priced or worth in their opinion or my opinion or whoever's opinion. Here's how much that thing is actually worth. Here's how much I can buy it for. So there's some potential built in like cost savings. It's like consumer dynamics, and literally price anchoring is everywhere. Anytime you go to buy new clothes or whatever, and there's like an old price tag, and then it's crossed out, or there's a sale, and everything with the yellow price tag is the actual price, and it's a lower dollar amount. That's all price anchoring, and it helps with conversions and boosting conversions and getting folks to lower their resistance about whatever the dollar amount is. Because, Tony, if I just say, oh, you ask how much is it, and I say it's $250 per visit, well, now $250 sounds a lot more expensive. $250 sounds like a deal after you hear $400. When you hear $400 per visit on weekends, $250 sounds a lot better. That's why.
Yeah, I love it. I love pricing psychology. Price anchoring is so powerful. And it doesn't matter how affluent somebody is. Like every person at every level of income, if you use a strategy like that and you start to investigate and understand how pricing works, a simple price anchor, multiples above what it's actually going to be, has a huge impact, even on people that know. I understand price anchoring it's still an effective strategy on me. You had mentioned different pricing on weekends compared to during the week. I shared a little video clip yesterday, I think it was, from My First Million podcast, where they were talking about an entrepreneur. This was an individual who got into the movie business. But one of the things that he did before that was he was in laundromats, and he found that he could buy laundry machines that had surge pricing technology. We talked about Wendy's. We've talked about this before. So what was happening was when the laundromat was busy, the price went up. That disincentivized that time so that people wanted to save money. They could use the laundromat when it was less busy. Why we don't have that still in therapy more broadly, and for people that are wondering, so Dave does it with weekends. There's absolutely opportunities, even in an insurance-based practice model, where you can't charge more to an insurance company because they're not going to pay you more, but you could offer a membership that has premium benefits. And one of those premium benefits is first access to the schedule, or it's, priority scheduling in regards to same day appointments that are open only to members of that paid membership. There's always ways to make this work. And why does that help? Well, just like Dave couldn't spend the time he spends on the phone with potential new clients if he didn't have a certain level of profitability within the visits he already delivers. He couldn't go through the work of talking to doctors of physical therapy, of transferring the information, of setting up these extra calls, of doing all of these extra things if he was running on razor thin margins. So he can deliver a better patient care experience because he runs a profitable business. Without the profit, he can't do those things, and so that's where, when we look at an insurance-based model, if I don't have profitability, I can't deliver exceptional care. I can't do the things that I want to do. It's the same in the cash-based world. Gosh, that is so awesome. Now, you used to teach that, or did you used to teach that? Will you teach that again? Because I know there are so many therapists who would love to learn how you do what you do, see it in action. Like, is that something you used to do? And is that something you're thinking about doing in the future? And this wasn't planned. I'm just thinking, in Dave's best interest, he needs to get that information out to a larger audience.
So yes, I used to teach that. When I used to teach it, this was, like before COVID, right? So like I was good then. I think I'm really good now. But it's also like when you get busier, you get more patience, and you see how much it works, and you get feedback of how it works. But it's evolved over time. I don't know. I might consider, but you and you're just asking me live and like on the spot.
Put
So
you on the spot.
I don't know if it were something, I can say I would not want it as $500 course, like respectfully, like Medicare, learnmedicarebilling.com, because the way I am is with this, I know how valuable it is. Someone who's a newbie will not understand the level of value. I would have to probably price it at what, either free, Tony, or
super premium.
Yeah. Super premium. I would have to do it. You'd have to make it a bigger dollar amount where it almost hurts you, like it pains you,
right?
For me to even have the urge to want to like teach it or coach it or whatever. But I just did a bunch of it for free. This is live. This is going to live on the internet for years or forever or whatever. You certainly can take a lot of what I just described. I mean, that is a lot of what I say on the phone call, which is why I mentioned recently, I wish I could post the phone calls, because I think a lot of folks will not believe that I actually am that way on the phone. But what I just did to you live, that is 99% of what I say on the phone calls.
And I would say that sets the person up for more clinical success, like a better outcome from their therapy than almost any special intervention a therapist is going to learn. I'm still such a strong believer in the fact that what you say, how you say it, how the patient kind of commits to the plan of care, all of those factors are far more impactful than me learning a dry needling certification or manipulations or the other things. Those are great. They're nice. But at the end of the day, I don't, but if I did, I could do dry needling to the best of my clinical ability. But if the patient mentally isn't bought into the outcome, isn't expecting improvement, they're probably not going to get better, And so all of this comes with the pre-framing of, we need that vested person to know I'm totally in on this. This is what I need. This is what's going to work for me. And that comes through that first point of contact, the communication. And that's why you're so good at it, because you know how effective what your people can deliver is going to be.
Well, so there's two things as well. So yes, on the phone call, it is a placebo power. So on the first phone call, you're right. The way that my phone call is structured, they know and they hear that it's different than what else the other place that they call. I believe most folks will understand that when they convert to the evaluation and the plan of care, even I'm not treating them, but it's who I've hired, that they are in the hands of a consummate professional. That's what I want them to think or believe. And for the most part, I think a lot of the new clients and families do think that. The first phone call, as Jerry Durham says, it is so important. And I've learned a ton of this, structure and, tonality and confidence because of his content, because of his stuff. Then the patient or client, they know that they are in good hands. They're in great hands. And because we have such a rigorous process in hiring and onboarding physical therapists, so that I'm confident that when they take the new patient for the evaluation and the plan of care, I'm super confident that they're going to do all the fulfillment, everything on the back end of the evaluation, the treatment, the patient communication, organizing the visits, all that type of stuff. When that therapist walks in, they're an extension of me. They're an extension of that first phone call. So it's all kind of tied together.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Think about your parting shot. That might've been it.
I'll go with that. Yeah.
My parting shot is, you said something that was super important. You basically said, and I'm going to paraphrase, you can't be desperate. There's a level of confidence that comes across when you're not desperate, when you can say no, when you're in control of the conversation and the narrative. I never go to the grocery store when I'm starving because I always make a bad decision. And it's the same in business. I need to have money in my bank account, security, peace of mind. I need to know that I could tell 100 patients, no, I am not the therapist for you. And then I am going to get the best patients into my ecosystem, and I'm going to have a successful business. So that is the parting shot. And go back to the beginning of the episode. How do you get those first 10 referrals? We shared really good information. Once you get those first couple of referrals, now you have the confidence. Now you have some money. Now you can start to say no. What do you think?
100%. And a reminder that you have to be prepared for rejection. All the things that I just said on the phone, I know it's easy for me. It's easy for me to be so confident and do this, almost like sales role play, first phone call role play type thing, because I've done it for years. Let's say, again, if you don't take insurance, or if you take Medicare, but not the other commercial insurances, you have to be ready for rejection. You have to be ready for that phone call, that person on the phone to say, what? That's crazy. That's ridiculous. Who would pay that? That's not worth that. Or your physical therapy isn't worth it. Or, that's offensive, or you're taking advantage of people, or whatever, like whatever possible negative thing someone could say. Most people are just going to say like, oh, that's more than I thought it would be, or let me think about it. And they really are saying that as a nice exit, ramp to get off the phone. Most people are going to be nice and just get off the phone. You have to be ready for rejection. If you're going to take on, and do the phone call process like mine compared to Tony, where he just takes a lot of the insurances.
You should be looking for that kind of response. Like, you're doing it right when you get that kind of exaggerated emotional response, because it's also going to be an emotional decision when they say yes. Dave, as always, thank you so much. I'm going to be at the Reds game today, watching the Phillies get beat for the 6th time, I think. I hope you have an amazing day.
Go Phillies. And hopefully with my allergies, I try to just bring a little bit of extra.
All right, guys, we'll see you Tuesday, 8:30 a.m., Thursday, 8:30 a.m. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.